When you're at the top of your swing, when you get here and you go to start to change directions, that club goes from weighing 12, 14 ounces. By the time about every 2 or 3 inches it moves, it gains about a pound of force. So when it gets here and it moves to there, it's weighing like 10 pounds of force, and it wants to go that way.
Yeah.
If you just let it go, how are you going to catch this up?
I think a really important thing that, because I've got that question about what's Mike talking about with the shaft thing,
Yeah.
200 million times. And I say, I'm willing to bet that Mike and I, if we were looking at anyone else, look as a person, they would say, hey, good players look something like this. What you just said there explains that so perfectly. The motion you're doing beforehand and getting that correctly is going to have the shaft pitching in that direction automatically.
This is going to happen automatically.
So you don't want someone to feel more. It's already happening. It's, hey, those sensations are so it doesn't get too far back.
Right.
Hey guys, so we're out here today at beautiful Gold Canyon, Arizona at the Superstition Mountain Golf Club, and we're here today with Mike Malaska. Now I know a lot of you guys know Mike, but if you don't know who Mike is, he is one of the teaching legends in the golf world. He has just about every accolade you could possibly have. He's been running the Jack Nicklaus Academies for a long period of time. He's a Golf Magazine Top 100 teacher, Golf Digest Top 50 coach, PGA National Teacher of the Year, Southwest Section PGA Teacher of the Year, among other things. And before we dive into today's video, two quick things I want to talk to you guys about. Number one, we have launched our golf schools in Bethlehem, PA this summer. Would love to have you for a 2-day golf school. We'll put a link in the description down below. If you can't make it for a golf school, we'd still love to coach you through CogornoGolf.com. That's where I can work with you no matter where you are in the world. You can send me your swing videos. I can help take your game to the next level. You get access to everything we have on the site, including the member library, all of the master classes, the practice section, and the quick fix section. Would love to see you guys there. All right, Mike, so let's have a little conversation here about transitioning.
Okay.
And that's a big topic we can talk about. And shallowing the downswing.
Correct.
From the top. And so I think we're just going to flip-flop roles here again, and I would like to listen. And
okay, well, first of all, I mean, there's a lot out there now where they're talking about shallow the club, whether you're shallowing your arms or the club, because they're looking at TrackMan. And they have numbers of angle of approach that they want the club on to maximize what you can do with the ball. So I don't think any of us would necessarily disagree with what those numbers should be. How you get there could be something else. And when we talk about shallowing the club or shallowing your arms, what actually makes them shallow and what are we trying to do? Transition has a lot to do with what your arms do or don't do. And so the reason I've got a baseball bat here and a tennis racket, when I ask most golf professionals or most people, if I said, okay, so I'm set up here to hit a golf ball, and I'm going to give you 4 options as to when I start my change of directions. So option number 1 would be, I'll turn over here. Option number 1 would be start right here. Option number 2 would be to start here. Number 3 would be there, and number 4 would be up here.
That's start your downswing?
So which one of those numbers do you start your downswing on? Most people would call 3 or 4.
Yep.
It's 1.
Yeah.
Now, here's why it's 1, from an athletic perspective, and that's why I've got the baseball bat and the tennis racket. If I am going to hit a forehand in tennis, okay, the minute the racket starts to go back, my body starts to go forward.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's how, and the racket works from up to under. I mean, this is, now it doesn't necessarily do this, but it's because the racket in tennis, the face is this way on a forehand, and then it's that way. It's not this way.
Yep.
But the transition starts, the minute the racket starts to go back, you start to go forward. So it's this, okay? If I take a baseball bat, and you're standing here, yeah, you load your right side, but the minute the bat starts to go this way, your body starts to go that way. Those two offsetting or opposing forces is what keeps you centered.
Yeah.
So the transition doesn't, you don't do this with a baseball bat, you don't go back here, put the bat here, and then try to go forward.
Right.
Okay, so we go even more elementary.
Yep.
I'm going to throw a ball.
Yep.
Okay, so if I'm going to throw a ball, the minute my arm starts to go this way, my body goes that way. I mean, I was a pitcher, so if I stood here, yeah, I'm loaded. Yes, I'm loaded.
Yep.
But the minute my arm starts to go this way, my body starts to go the other way.
Absolutely.
Now, if I tried to do this, if I went here, and I went here, and then I went here, and you said, now throw, see, I'm going to be over the top.
Sure.
Okay. So when I take a golf club, so here's a tennis racket. And there's the transition with a tennis racket.
Yep.
As this goes back, I go forward.
Yep.
As this goes back, I go forward. So all of a sudden I put the tennis racket down. As this goes back, I go forward.
Yep.
It's the same damn thing. Now if you transition correctly, like this, when you transition and this goes a little lateral, when it goes lateral, it tilts your spine, which tilts your shoulders, which starts your arms down.
Yep.
So the shallowing of your arms or the club happens because of the transition in your body. You transition late, you're going to be steep. And if you try to fix that by doing this, now you put a Band-Aid on a Band-Aid.
Got it.
Okay, so
Yep.
get up here.
Yep, yep.
Do this first.
Yep.
Did you play tennis?
I dabble.
Just your right hand. So forget golf.
Yep.
Just hit a forehand. So see, as the racket goes back, what does your body do?
Goes forward.
Okay, you feel that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So but you're still putting force into your right foot. So you see how you're doing that?
Yeah.
You don't even have to think.
No. I'm certainly not thinking.
No,
Yeah.
shallow, but
Right,
if we
right.
look at it on the video,
It happens.
your racket is shallowing.
From my sequence, my body motion.
Exactly. So
Got
the
it.
sequence of your body motion, I'll make a
Yeah.
practice swing, it's
Yeah.
a tennis racket. There.
Yeah.
So you start changing directions right now. There you go.
Yeah. That's the sensation I get from transferring that to this, is my movement is happening earlier.
And see, you just made that was very perceptive.
Yeah.
You said earlier, you didn't say quicker.
Yeah.
Because when I do this with people, they say, oh, you maybe want me to swing faster. No, no, no. My transition, my swing's really smooth.
Yeah.
My transition is really slow,
Yeah.
but just happens sooner.
Sooner. Got it.
It's not about being quick.
Yep.
See, I can have a really early transition and have it be really soft and smooth. I'm not saying that you have to be quick.
Right.
It just has to start and happen sooner.
And as I'm doing that, happening sooner, as I'm working back, I mean, I like that as kind of an initial like guideline for someone who's never seen that, of kind of getting here, and as would we say, hands near the right leg-ish.
Yep.
As I'm doing this, I'm feeling like I'm throwing the ball, or like I'm throwing a football, or the tennis racket.
They're all the same.
But as I'm doing that motion, my arms are still going to travel back. My body's still turning back as I'm just like the other sports. Yeah.
And when I'm hitting a forehand in tennis, I mean, just because my body's going, but this is still going this way.
Yeah.
I throw a baseball, just because my body's going forward doesn't mean my arm doesn't keep going back.
Yeah. Got it.
So when those two all of a sudden collide, then that creates a lot of the leverage that you get.
What would you say, Mike? And maybe it's 100%. Of people who get, like, to me, and I'll define something from my perspective. From my perspective, someone who gets, because there's a difference between a hand path that comes out too far,
Right.
and a shaft that gets, from my perspective, steep. We'll call it. Someone calls it a steep shaft position. So, what percentage of people would you say that get the overhand path? Does it stem from those earlier movements? Is it 90?
It's for sure 90%.
Yeah, I got it. So the fix is you fix that.
Yeah, you fix that, and then the other part of it comes a lot out their grip.
Yeah.
Because if their grip's weak, then what's going to happen is then they try to square the face with their shoulder. And if your right arm has to twist to square the face, it's very difficult. It's a multiple global movement pattern to go here and start down and leave your shoulders there and rotate your forearm and not move your shoulder.
Yeah.
Because what your body wants to do, if you give it the task for my arm to rotate, your shoulder's going to go with it.
Yep.
So unless somebody's going to spend a whole lot of time to get them to rotate their arms and not have their shoulders go, it isn't going to happen.
So when I'm from the top, and I want to say kind of, here's what I see a good ball striker do if I look at them. If we go from the top here, right, and it's transitioning, because this to me feels pretty clear cut.
Okay.
You know, like that's straightforward to me, like another sport. If I go up to the top and I get into let's call it like a neutral position.
Yeah.
My hands are, butt of the club's kind of middle of my foot-ish, nothing goofy. When I watch a good player from here, and I were to now here's the getting micro with what we see on camera far, which is funny earlier.
I got it.
And I work from here. I would see the butt of the club going more down than out, for sure. Maybe like on a, not straight down, not this, not even 45, more down than out, but some combination of both. And what I see if I draw that line is, let's say that line's like this, here. I see the shaft on there being just slightly below that. Now, I don't see the hands from the top go out this way.
Yeah.
I don't see the hands from the top go here,
Right.
although some people. But from a neutral position, I see the hands go just slightly down and out, and the shaft being on or just under that spot.
You're right.
And that's what we see people do.
You're right.
I think some of the videos, like we see where someone said, hey, Mike, what's Mike talking about the shaft getting here,
Yeah.
right? And so from my perspective, and I want to get a serious, what you think with that, if I make a downswing where I do what I do, and I get in this position,
Yeah.
which is too far, I would say I need to feel a sensation of here to make it look neutral.
Okay, what you just said that's forces.
Yeah.
So here's what you have to feel. Take a hold of it. Just so when you get to the top of your swing, the momentum of the club is going like this.
Yep.
When you change directions, the momentum of the club wants to go this way.
Yep.
So what you have to do right in here, you have to do something to offset the momentum of the club, which you're going to feel like you go this way.
Yep.
You're going to feel this to get it there.
Yep.
If you feel there, it's going to be here. So what you have to do to offset the momentum of the club, what you have to feel doesn't equate for most people, because they go, wait a minute, that feels like I'm standing the club up too much.
Yeah.
I go, well, no, just do it and let's watch it. And they try to do it and it doesn't even come close to being there.
Exactly.
So when you got these forces around you going multiple different directions and you move, what you have to feel like you're doing to offset those forces to get that camera to see what you want it to see doesn't correlate to what it looks like.
Exactly.
So the feels don't correlate. That's why when somebody says, well, practice this position, I go, okay. Or do you believe in this position? I go, yeah. But then I'll say, how do you get there? Well, you practice that position. No, you don't.
Right.
Because that position is static with no motion or forces involved. What do you have to feel, and how do you use these forces so that that position shows up automatically?
Yep.
That's where it gets confusing. That's what confused me as a player. I get it now because I understand the forces, how the body moves, what the club's trying to do, and who we are in this universe, and how you're trying to offset the momentum of that club. So what you just said is what most people have to feel. I had a really good teacher, a guy named Joe Nichols, who used to tell me this. And I had this problem. I would get up and I'd start down and the frickin' club would get under too much.
Yep.
And he says, Mike, you want to feel like this. On the backswing, you want to feel like the club's standing straight up.
Yep.
Then you go up to the top, and the first move down is you want to stand the club straight up.
Yep.
And then you level the club out into the ball. So you stand it up, level it out.
Yeah.
I'd go, Joe, I've never seen any. He says, just try it. So then I'd stand there, and I'd go, and I'd feel like I was doing this, and I'd feel like I was doing that, and I'd stand there and make a swing.
Yeah.
And we put it on the video, and the frickin' club was perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
And I felt like I was doing this to it.
Yeah.
Well, you got force. See, that club, when you're at the top of your swing, when you get here and you go to start to change directions, that club goes from weighing 12, 14 ounces. By the time every 2 or 3 inches it moves, it gains about a pound of force. So when it gets here and it moves to there, it's weighing like 10 pounds of force, and it wants to go that way.
Yeah.
If you just let it go, how are you going to catch this up?
I think a really important thing that, because I've got that question about what's Mike talking about with the shaft thing,
Yeah.
200 million times. And I say, I'm willing to bet that Mike and I, if we were looking at anyone else look as a person, they would say, hey, good players look something like this. What you just said there explains that so perfectly. The motion you're doing beforehand and getting that correctly is going to have the shaft pitching in that direction automatically.
This is going to happen automatically.
So you don't want someone to feel more. It's already happening. It's, hey, those sensations are so it doesn't get too far back.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
David Duvall did a Golf Channel thing with Charlie Reimer. It was the best thing I've ever seen, because Charlie's been a under big hooker. That's been his fault for a long time. And here's David Duvall. And they start talking. He says, well, give me my driver. Let me show you. He says, when I was in college, he says, one thing for sure, you can't play from under the shaft plane. And he says, in college, I used to get under and I'd flip it and I'd duck hook everything.
Yeah.
So I had to figure out what I could feel to keep the club from falling under the shaft plane. So Charlie says, well, so what do you feel? He says, well, here's what I feel. So he does this. He goes, so I take my drive, so I go up to the top and I get here, and he says, when I start down, here's what I feel like my swing's doing.
Yeah.
And Charlie's just going, what? He says, yeah, I feel like I go like this. He says, now keep the camera on, and he hit his driver.
Yeah.
And he goes, whoosh. and they put it on, it was right on. This is what he had to feel to get it where it ended up where it's supposed to be.
Absolutely.
So where it's supposed to be is misleading.
Yeah.
So if you stand here and practice, I want the club right there, right there. You're dead because there's no force.
Got it.
See, this has no speed, no force.
Yep.
And if you try to put it there with speed and force, it's going to be under. So when I make practice swings, I make practice swings like this.
Yep.
Now, it's not going to be here.
Yep.
But I have to, when I put it to speed, I have to feel like I'm doing that to keep it from getting this way.
Exactly.
So it's an offsetting feeling.
Absolutely.
Relative to speed versus no speed. So you got to be really careful when you slow swings down on video.
Yep.
And then when you try to copy the positions with no force.
Yep.
Because you can, well, I ruined a career doing it.
All right.
Because I could hit the positions perfect.
Yep.
But I would hit each individual position. It wasn't an overall flow. And so that's
perfect. Yeah.
Basically what you said there is right on.
So and so like if someone came in and they had, because that only makes sense. If someone came in and your shaft is like too far under, well, of course you got to feel the opposite to go neutral, right?
And if somebody's going too much this way, you're going to have them feel like they're going that way.
Okay. Yeah.
So teaching is a blend of information. You can't just carbon copy and carbon paste for everybody, because everybody has a different illness. It's like if we all went to the doctor and they gave us the same medication, okay, some you help, some aren't too bad off, and some you kill.
Yeah.
Well, the reality is you kill more people than you help if all you do is the same thing for everybody. So the better you get as a teacher, the more you know what you want to have happen, you know how to get it, you watch a person, you figure out, okay, what's the one most important medication for this person?
Yeah.
And you let that go and you let it develop a little bit and you see what it fixes. You know, but it's not about everybody does this and we're all the same and everybody makes the same move and does the same thing. No.
Right.
I don't think I've ever had two students that I've given exactly the same information to.
Right, exactly.
Maybe the basic concepts, but different drills.
They feel it different.
They feel it different.
Yeah.
You know, that's another thing. I have somebody make a swing when we're doing that, like I say, okay, what do you feel like's happening when you do that? And some people will say, I know the biomechanics, I know the muscle firing pattern, I know what they're supposed to be feeling with their scapular contractions, their internal, external, I know what's going on. And then they'll say, well, it felt like my left shoulder went straight up. I went, what?
Yeah.
Well, this has no relevance to what you just did. But if that's what they feel when they do it, okay, make your left shoulder go up more.
Yeah, pink elephant, whatever.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because feelings are individual. That's why, again, when I say that the biomechanics is a science, and we're an art form. You know, our bodies, we're an art form of this world. Mm-hmm. And so what you feel when you move isn't what I feel.
Yeah.
So for me to stand here and say, well, here's what I feel when I'm doing it. Okay.
Yeah, for you relative to,
well, unless you're a carbon of me,
right, that
may not help you.
Yep.
And for me to say, everybody needs to get the club here and go like that. Now, this I like a lot more. This is what Sergio does. This is what Ricky Fowler does. They get the club laid off and they start down and the handle comes down faster than the club head, or at least the same speed. And at some point in time, the club head stops and it goes back. That's how they accelerate the club. They accelerate it with this and that.
And would you say, that's, again, perfectly, makes only sense. If I went to the top, Mike, and I went up like this, let's flip off 1 second. So if I go here, because it's all just relative. If I'm Freddie Couples, or I'm long and across the line, well, I need to have, there's going to be some natural of the club going back this way early, and then this way. If I'm over here, I'm not going to go back down more,
right,
anomaly, John, but I'm going to, the more I get the club back like this, the more it's going to come back here to be neutral.
Right.
The more I'm across the line, the more it's going to go this way to be neutral.
Right.
It's all just getting to the same spot.
Right. So it's about that blend.
Love it. Love it. Beautiful. Mike, thanks, man.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Bill.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Hey guys, thanks for watching today's video. To see more from Mike, go ahead and click the link down in the description below to see Malaska Golf. Also, if you did like this video, go ahead and watch the 2 videos here on the screen. They're going to help you learn more about this topic. If you liked it, click the like button down below, click the notification bell, and please subscribe.